I try to stay positive this way, cool and positive in a world full of illusion and tribulation and confusion. That's why I try to stay focused, like I said. But we're back on the Tru-Mon show. Yeah, it's going live now. So let me shut off the sound on this side. Yeah, I'm very, very happy to be back with Arthur and Fiona, episode 142. Not that the number really matter, but just as reference, I don't really care about numbers. Numbers, we see them everywhere, numbers and letters and all kinds of stuff. So I try to not intellectualize too much stuff, but that's what is written there. So that's why I'm telling you that. But tonight, yeah, we're going to talk about a lot of stuff. It's been a while. I haven't seen Arthur. I heard about him. I read his paper. I read his stuff pretty much like all of you guys. So I'm sure I'm not the only one that is very happy to see him back online, whether on the Tru-Mon show or somewhere else online. I'm sure people are very, very delighted to see you here, and we're gonna have a great time together. So how are you guys?
Yeah, we're well.
We're okay.
Great.
I was just saying we haven't done anything with anyone since you. This is actually the next video since you. It's all done on Facebook.
Yeah,
or
Facebook.
Facebook or
yeah, I like it. I like to call it that way too, because that's what I want to talk about tonight. I've been touching the subject of self-obsession and ego and stuff a lot, because I've been reading a lot of Melissa Kemper too, which is very inspiring. I've read her stuff a lot about the dissolving the overlay. And I think the only way probably that we can dissolve the overlay is if we dissolve the ego. But we should also identify what is the ego. It's very important, because sometimes we can be confused in what is the ego. Some people perceive the ego. That's what I would like to maybe start in. Some people perceive the ego as the higher self, as something that they should attain, where other people see the ego as an enemy almost. So maybe you can shed a bit of light on this, and also we're going to talk about astrology, about all kinds of stuff that I want to approach with you, Arthur, because you have a different way than others. You're the kind of guy that go to the truth. You don't care. You're just going to dive in, and you're going to expose everything for what it is, because the truth is what it is anyway. So the truth is us. And that's what we seem to miss the point also that I want to talk about when we talk about seeking truth or looking for lies or deception, which I think we do pretty much online. We look for lies and deception where the truth is not hidden. It's us, it's me, you, it's us waking up to our greatness, to our magnificence, and to waking up to the dream of life also, like you say. So I'll let you go on a bit. I can talk, you know me, I can talk non-stop, but I do shows alone for an hour, and I still would stay on because I have so much things to say. It's such a great time to be alive. That's why I'm happy. It's a great time to be alive, and it's especially a moment like that with Arthur, Christian, and Fiona online. It's divine. It's divine. So go ahead, Arthur, or I'm not gonna stop.
Let's stop masturbating now. We're just normal, everyday idiots like everyone else, mate.
Man is just a man, but still, you have done that. You know, I
get your sentiments and your intentions.
Yeah.
I think the interesting thing about ego is that from a psychology point of view, I'm pretty sure they say we can't survive without the ego, because the ego is what gives us our energy and our impetus and our go out and get it and do something and make something. And there's this perception that without the ego we'll be just a doormat and, you know, unable to function. But the fact is that's only true in the system. In the system, we need the ego, because that's what the system is, because the ego is our fake system persona. So psychology is actually right in saying we can't survive in the world, in the system, without the ego, because we can't. You can't be in the system as true magnificent man. So you have to have your ego to survive.
And that's the overlay. In fact, that's the higher consciousness everyone calls it. It's actually the other way around. It's reversed, because it's like as if well, it's not like as if it is. It's like we are all puppet masters carrying our puppets, and we are pulling the strings of our own puppets. So all of us together are in the matrix with our real lives, but disconnected from what that is, unconsciously performing these marionettes you know, and we're pulling strings, and the ego is the E-go. It's the intention of those who crafted these fake personas to enter the fake dreamscape, because the system is a dreamscape. It's a dream world. It really is, and it's made up of alphabet thoughts. So every alphabet thought you have is your ego, is the matrix, and is inculcation and practice. It's what compels us. It's what Fiona was touching on. The ego is what we use to compel the marionette to perform. So we might be driving a car, but we're actually driving the marionette, and the police officer pulls you over and asks you to get out of the car. So you get out pulling at your marionette, and they ask you for your ID. And so you're sitting there getting your wallet out, but actually it's the marionette. And you're going, are you Arthur Creston? And this is, and if you're an idiot, you say, yes, I am this marionette. This is who I am. And the police officer says, oh, good. I'm glad to know that you're in this, my world, in the world, that this is where my law operates. And we have this power. Most of them wouldn't even know that, because he's a marionette too. He's doing his thing. But if you get the gist, every alphabet thought is a definition that another man has put in our heads. Now it can relay. There's a follow through in the system where people have carried on the education of this alphabet thoughts in our heads, because they're definitions defining a fake version of reality. And it's all that definition that forms the marionette. And that's the all-seeing eye. It actually is the all-seeing eye, because we see through the eyes of the definitions that have been explained to us, suggested, instructed, educated. So the ego is this, and at its root, it's sacrificing of our brothers and sisters at the altars of these satanic rituals, because to grasp this, the water of our breath contains our intentions. It contains our thoughts, our dreams. So we breathe the dreamscape of our lives. And so if we imbue the horror of trauma, which is education, because it actually is a trauma, we're creating the marionette in the water. We're making shapes, because that's what we do with water. We make shapes, like playing with plasticine or clay. We make shapes. And so when you look at cities and skyscrapers, they are shapes made out of the water of our breath. And the whole of nature is also a natural shape, but it's a real shape that our ancestors pre this satanic inculcation that was done to us, right? So trying to grasp it without going too long into it is that we dream images, and we energize them with our life force energy. The only difference here is that instead of us being brought up by nature, where our direct relationship with nature, with reality, because nature's reality, instead of reality inspiring us, so we create our dreams, because thoughts are dreams, dreams are thoughts, because that's where our soul is when we create them that way. We have other dreams coming into our heads that are alien from other men and women with an intention to kidnap us, to hijack us, so that we perform their dream as if it's our dream, right? Do you follow that? So the ego is that intention. So E-go, E-motion is the intention of those who dream to compel us to perform as the robot. So if you think of an ego as a robot, when you build a robot, you have an intention with a specific outcome for that robot. So you then have to build that robot, and then you have to create the software program that you install in this robot, right? The marionette, and you turn it on. So the education system is this. All the rituals to do with alphabet thoughts, from everything that you're exposed to, from the sound of the whippersnipper, the lawnmower, the motorbike, the car, everything that's unnatural. These are forming our relationship to the dreamscape, where the marionette has entered the matrix, and it's in there where we are under the compelling emotion of the high priests of Freemasonry, who want us to perform their intentions. And that's what alphabet language is, because it's a software program, and we're performing the rituals of their intentions.
You were saying the lawnmower and all those sounds and all. And the other day, that's the exact reflection I had upstairs in the kitchen. I'm like, is this unnatural to have so much noise coming out from a lawnmower? It makes more noise than my car. And my car is 20 times the size of that little thing. Why does it make so much noise? I think it's conceived that way to drive us nuts.
You're right. I think so. But and it's interesting because that whole thing of the ego, because the ego is not who we are, that's why we have to develop the self-obsession, because we have to be constantly performing this ego. And so that becomes, which is the self-obsession, because we've always got to be thinking about it. Or how does it look? How does it work? How does it sound to people? Are they thinking this about me and that and the other? I went to visit Arthur's mother, and she lives near the beach in Sydney yesterday. And she's been there forever. So she bought a house when it was very cheap. Now it's a very, very sought after area. It's near the beach. It's beautiful. And it's gorgeous down there. And I was walking along and I was with the girls, but the self-obsession to be seen was huge. Like everybody's exercising, being fit, drinking their right juices, doing the right thing, and just, it's all about maintaining that self and that ego to be looking right, performing right, doing all the right things in the system.
It's a disconnection from reality, right? Like women wearing high heel shoes. It's a fashion, it's a social engineering. The feet are not on the ground. The feet's not connected with reality. You know, the man wearing the collar and the tie around the neck, you know, you'll find that all this social engineering, which is this intention to create the matrix that is civilization, that is the society, it's the system, you see. So, but let's go back. I want to go back to what I was touching on.
Yeah.
The Satanists are occultists. The occults, at its roots, are software programmers. They truly are software programmers forming the matrix. They form both the background, which we talked about in some of the early videos we did with you.
Yeah.
They create the background so that's our default. We always default back, because we keep thinking, oh, this is reality. So because everything's defined. Oh, that's an apple, that's an orange, that's a daffodil, and it's yellow. And we're given all the scientific explanation. So every man who's been inculcated is walking the talk of the marionettes under the spell of the spellbinding image power of the compelling emotions crafted by these occultists. And where they get their major power from is through ritual sacrifice. This is why so many children and teenagers and backpackers and adults go missing, and animals, because what they do, and if you go to Darkness Visible Part 5, you'll find it. And when this video goes up on our thing, and I'll send you the link. And we've mentioned this before. Have a look at the pictures in Darkness Visible Part 5, because it tells you the truth. You see this. You'll have victims laying down. You'll see an instrument looking like something like a straw put into the heart of the victim. You'll see another Egyptian-like instrument going around the neck, and they choke their victim. And you'll find that there's 2, 3, 4, or 5 around them. Sometimes they have bigger rituals, and there's hundreds around. Rock stars, film stars, people in the, all through the different industries, fashion industries, big business people involved in the funeral parlors and working in autopsies, and all these type. There are many who sold out. Some in different, but not, but there's enough, because these are the ones coordinating the general infrastructure plus the intelligence networks, because they gather the intel to feed back in case there's some breaking through, like people like us, who could become a concern to them. And so they have to start working out how we're going to get, nullify us, and we won't go into all that now, but this stuff does go on. Because the war has we've never had a Cold War against countries, or we've never had First World War, Second World Wars in that way. It's always been a war against all of us, because the whole purpose was to bring us into one pantomime marionette world, one world of marionette. That's why English became the first world language, you see. So they craft English back in the 1100s, and they called it a new old language. And now you're starting to see the kids from ages of 8 up to 16, they all talk English in every country in the world, literally now. It's compulsory in most countries. Because to enter the New World Order, you got to enter English, because it was planned back in their books in the 1100s. But English came out of ritual sacrifice, right? And it's out of bloodletting and blood libel, which is this Darkness Visible Part 5. They get their victims, they take them to death, they choke them to death, and they sing songs, they sing sounds with images. When the victim is about to go, they release the implement, let them come back to consciousness again, and then they start it again. And they will crucify them, they will stab them, and do they get, the reason is they want a broken will. They want to capture the life of a broken will, someone who's given up, right? A man who knows who a man is, they can't break that man no matter how much they torture that body and crucify it. They cannot capture that soul. It's impossible. But what they try and do is they break the wills, and then they drip the blood into pots or buckets, and they write the alphabets, the hieroglyphics, because the intentions behind the image is the software program that compels that emotion, that program, what I want you to do for me, because there's an outcome to hieroglyphics, there's an outcome to visual imagery, you know. So whenever the whole of the system is filled with these intentions. So we're actually talking death. We're actually celebrating the death of all those who've been murdered when we wear high heel shoes and when we wear clothes in the system, because it all comes from this. It's all evolved out of this. So it is a slave system built out of slavery that has all come out of ritual sacrifice, blatant murder. And we're so unconscious. So the victims who have been murdered, to have their blood taken from them with all that trauma, all that broken will trauma, all that horror, every emotion they're experiencing, hopelessness, emptiness, despair, you name it, all that's captured in the blood, but it's also captured in their breath. See, when they try to capture that in casks as well, in ceramic pots and all kinds of things. We're talking about absolute fucking psychopathy, guys. Total nutcases. But this trauma, this ritual, is the information highway of life in the system. Because everyone, when you wake up to the clock, what's compelling you to wake up to the clock? I got to get to work by 9 o'clock. I've got to keep a roof over my head. I've got to make money to pay for my taxes. There's so many things that compel us. All of this is fantasy. None of this exists. But we make it as if it does, and that it is governed by rules and laws and statutes, you name it. So we are so imprisoned of our own doing because we were trained to practice the compelling emotion from literally in the womb, because it starts in the womb of the mother. And we've been saying that the women are their greatest weapon, the Freemasons, the occultists. Their greatest weapon is women, because it's the women who create the stereotyping in the womb, because they were got at so young themselves. And we support them. We as men support the women. It's stereotyped because the inculcation, the images of these emotions start in the womb. A woman, what is the kind of a woman? What makes a good mother? What makes this? Now, this is all explained and defined. When you define reality, it's not reality. It's just an idea about reality, but it isn't reality. So when you define a man or a woman, you're lying to them. You're lying to the children. We're all lying to our children when we define anything. So we define consciousness. That's not consciousness. When we define freedom, that's not freedom. It's just an idea. And people take it like a fashion statement. That's social and they wear it. I'm free because someone defined it for them. And inside that imagery is this ritual sacrifice, this trauma. That's why when you see a police car, you think of authority. And my God, you know, I've got to react and answer to the power of the uniform with the flashing lights and all this stuff, right? It's the same as I must go to the election and vote. Like in some countries like Australia, it's compulsory. I don't, because I'm out of the system, but you know, she does. She still votes because she's still relying on her own signature, creating her own fictional dollars so she can perform her marionette in the system. So, but what I'm getting at is that we are all compromised, no matter whoever it is, we are compromised, living this fake life in the system. And the scale of the alphabet thoughts in our head, if anyone can sit down in quiet, calm space and observe and listen to the thoughts, you're listening to the occultist suggesting what you should be doing. Because that's what an alphabet thought is. It comes from them. It truly is spelling.
We
Spellbound.
we are also perpetuating the overlay on so many levels. On so many levels, sometimes we don't even realize the harm that we're creating, or also because our ego is so thick or something like that, that we prefer to put ourselves in the world of illusion and not see what we do wrong, or like there's something at the core that is prevents us, I think, from seeing clear or something. But I think it's time to stop exactly perpetuating that overlay and realize what we're doing, and on so many levels.
True, but the difficulty here is that people don't know where alphabet thoughts end.
Yeah.
They don't know who they really are to even know where they. You see,
Exactly.
who we are doesn't end here at the surface of our skin. Who we really are is the true whole of the dream of life. But everything's so defined that we were given a name and our life in relationship to this vessel, this body, that entered into Admiralty law, into the system of the occults, and we think that everything about that life is real. Let me tell you that the whole of the system, the matrix, is a lie. I know that you interviewed Santo Bonacci with astrotheology and all that, but this is all the occults. It doesn't exist. No child not exposed to the system, not exposed to anyone who was exposed to the system, can go anywhere in reality, in nature, and learn about astrotheology or numerology or mathematics or alphabets or quantum physics or anything to do with anything that's making up the new talk in the new age today, right? So we're talking about the fashion statements, the social engineering of occultists who are designing the new kind of boutiques for the innocent, the gullible, the stupid, to go into these boutiques. Oh, I'm going to wear this and wear it and call it astrotheology. I'm going to wear this and call this mathematics and the connections with numbers. Look, let me tell you, none of this exists. You have been utterly brainwashed by occultists if you buy into this crap. It doesn't exist. It's a fantasy because we are performing the marionettes. Just remember this. Man precedes all thoughts. Man precedes all experience. Everything is to man, to first party. Everything is man-made. You cannot have an experience without a man being present to that experience. Even if we talk about it, dream about it, think about it, experience it. It's always to man, to man, to man. Because in our true consciousness, we are God, but not God has defined. We are undefinable man, undefinable consciousness. You cannot define it for any man. So when we talk about this, we don't want you to be defined by what we're saying either. Just sense our intentions behind what we're saying here. Because the occult, they bring you so close to the truth. The greatest lie and lie is the ones closest to the truth. But the definition, the explanation is what deceives you. So when you take your child out in the garden and we're looking at this life form, this plant, and we say to our child, that's a daffodil and that's yellow. The child is sensing the life form. Can sense it, touch, taste, feel, smell, hear, see, right?
Yeah.
But the inculcation, the images are getting put into the kid's head. It's not coming from the life form. It's coming from me, putting it in my child's head. Right. All occultists do this. When they talk to you about numbers, birth charts, and they talk to you about astrotheology or theology, it's all fucking bullshit. And you've been sucked into the stereotyping of a fashion statement that will let you fall into the matrix. And if you give your energy to it, you're giving the same energy that everyone else who believed it, which empowers the matrix and carries out the effects of those intentions. So the astrology at the particular house and position will affect you because you said so. And because your ancestors said so. But look, it's like people who fall in love with Jesus. The images of Jesus was not naturally there to the child in the womb. It was put in there through this inculcation practice, this method of putting images that are not natural in a child's head, and this forms the self-obsession. Now, every man has a good heart. The intentions of every man is to truly unconditionally love. It's at the roots of who we are. But we're so disconnected, so delinked, and lost in the occults that we bring the good heart with us into everything we do, and we think that there are good people in amongst the religion of the church, or the synagogue, or the mosque, or the modern New Age auditoriums, and all those who talk on the internet and YouTube. But we dream for love, we dream for healing, we dream for peace, we dream for goodness. We carry these dreams with the occults that lead us in the fashion statements of this social engineering. You follow what I'm saying? So you could be sucked into Christianity, sucked into Judaism, but you're all good people with good hearts, and you really are. And the intentions for love was already there. So all these people are energizing a group effort. And those who experience healing, even euphoric healings in Pentecostal churches and stuff, it is self-fulfilling. They are creating it themselves. But they don't see how the occults work, so they think that there's another higher power outside of them that has orchestrated this healing. But if they stop and observe, it's always man to the experience. It's always man to the dream, man to the intention, man to the outcome. There's no thought, no experience without man already being the first party. It always comes from man. This is why I'm repeating. So hang on. I'm repeating this. Bring forward an experience, a thought, a dream, without man being a party to that experience, to that dream, right, to that outcome. Now, no one can, because it's always man coming forward as the experience, as the dream, as the storyteller, as the occultists, as everything that we experience. So our own brothers come with their good hearts to fuck you over. Because the greatest lie and lies are the ones closest to the truth, and this is their greatest weapon. Yeah. And they use women mostly for this, because they inculcate women in the womb, from the womb, who become the girls, who grow up to become the mothers. And the way the social engineering works, the men get fractured from this because they have to go to work, make the money. They got to, as the income earner, the hunters, the gatherers, all that stuff. Women do it too. And out of this comes the matriarch and the patriarch and all this bullshit, man. It's all bullshit because they are put in our heads, these dreams, right? Yeah. They're not our dreams. I stress the point. It's something that Fiona and I are very strong about here. A child brought up by nature, a child being a man, without another man inside their head defining anything. The child, through direct sensory experience with reality, experiences the sensations of its interaction with reality. The bird, the butterfly, the wind, the breeze, the glistening sunlight with the moisture on the leaves. It just goes on. The sound of the waves, you name it. This sensory experience is what creates their living soul. You cannot create, we can create the vessel, as in the child, but we can't create the soul. There is no alphabet thought in existence, because behind Astro theology is alphabet thoughts, in whatever tongue you want to use it, in whatever's written in hieroglyphics or in alphabets or mathematics or numerology, right? Or any of the imagery that portrays a picture that they use that carries a story inside it, which is often through the occults of the system, is this too. So it's all the occults working on you, and there is no soul there because we sold out. We without realizing, because our parents have done it too, and most of the peers around us, well, probably everyone around us has done it. We have agreed to commit spiritual suicide. We agreed to give up creating a soul, right? The soul is our senses. There are no alphabet thoughts in what we sense. If you have alphabet thoughts, there are no sense there. You have no sense. All you have is nonsense. It's nonsense because you're imagining. And that's what occults is all about. Imagining something that's there, but really is just fantasy. Astrotheology is that. All the work of Sano Bonacci is bullshit. all the work of all these occultists are bullshit. They're lying to you. And Santos won't, I've been challenging Santos. He's a good guy. He might be just used and abused. He doesn't even know who he is. But this, I'm sharing you the absolute truth here. He's lying to everyone. He's dressing up a fashion statement for you guys to buy into it. So you are at the effect of inside the story. Because look, you train a child into the story of Superman, and the child learns to wear the costume and fantasizes. The child will also create the background of the whole story of Superman with all the bad guys and the good guys. And in the foreground, the child will perform in there for as long as the child chooses to stay in that fantasy and perform the marionette of Superman. Right. The ego is the same thing. Exactly the same thing. Except we perform it to astrotheology, astrology, numerology, because they don't exist. There's nowhere in reality can an innocent child go to learn about this stuff. It can only come from someone else who's already been got at and brainwashed to inculcate you with it.
Not only an innocent child, even me, myself, the other day I was outside and I'm like, I was trying to figure out how could they have mapped the sky and all the stars and all the constellation, all the stuff. They know everything because if they map the sky, they have to be, it's like 600, 700, I don't know how many 100 years ago that they have built up this old astrology chart and with the signs and all the stuff. But they can only observe from one observation point at the same time. And they had time-lapse camera to see the whole thing turn. And like, I never see all those stuff. From my point of view here in Quebec, I see what they call the Big Dipper. I don't know what it is, but anyway, I see those things, but constantly the same stars. I don't see all what they say. I never experienced that. From my experience, I've never seen it. So
yeah, see the storytelling. What the mapping out is storytelling. I take my child to the garden and storytell the yellow daffodil. What's no different? Yeah. It's storytelling. We're practicing the occults here. This is black magic. This is how black magic works. This is black magic in practice. And this is at the root of all the occults. So they're not your dreams. The storytelling performed on us are not our dreams. These are not dreams we created uniquely. They're not original to each of us. You find? So unless we create unique original dreams, there is no soul there. There's no man there. It's just a pretense about we think is a man there. And that's the man that walks around talking in alphabet talk. And it's the man who, basically, we're talking about self-obsession again. We are self-obsessed as being Greek, self-obsessed as being Rasta, self-obsessed as rock stars, self-obsessed as in fashion, self-obsessed as in lawyer, barrister, judge. These are self-obsessions because we enter into this storytelling and we form an imaginary relationship that becomes the fashion statement of the marionette that we then walk around performing over and over and over again like a child acting as Superman at the effect of kryptonite if ever comes near it.
And if we're not careful, even the waking up from self-obsession can become self-obsession because so many people, they're into ours. They realize things are not right. They start waking up, but that in itself becomes a whole self-obsession. It's all about my waking up and my journey and my this, my that. And it's just as much self-obsession, just as health can become a self-obsession, exercise can become self-obsession, all of it become, and that's how they really get us. That's how they really muck with our heads, because we think we're doing something to get away from the inculcation, but in fact their inculcation is still working on us, because it becomes self-obsession about our waking up, self-obsession about our journey to freedom, our journey to consciousness, and we're still stuffed. And that's where I think that's why people have never been able to throw the grips of the matrix off, because they don't see how they just still push down paths that keep them self-obsessed. Well, it's like people who, they start thinking, right, I want to like do what Arthur's been able to do. I want to lose all my papers. I want to not be part of that system. That can become a self-obsession. Whereas really what we need to be asking ourselves, what is the best thing I can do with what I have and my situation to set my brothers and sisters free? Nothing about me being free. So it may be for some people, it's better they hold on to their system paperwork. For me, I hold on to my system paperwork because that means he cannot hold on to his system paperwork. It wouldn't work if I then became obsessed with, but I want to let go of my papers. I want to sever that connection. We couldn't do what we do.
Yeah.
So that's where, and so I could become self-obsessed by that, and that would become a battle between us and what we do, and the whole foundation of family and security would be gone. So this is the hardest thing, is to start thinking about how we can most be useful for the awakening of all of us, the freedom of all of us, rather than my freedom and what I want to do for me to be free.
But that freedom for all of us is the true awakening to self-obsession. Again, going back to Darkness Visible Part 5 and those pictures, the breaking of the will, the broken will, is self-obsession. Because if you can break a man so that the man can't dream the man's unique dreams, because see, we're all supposed to be unique and original, not one the same as the next, right? We talk about this in some of my work. No grain of sand is the same. You'll never find two the same. Same as every drop of water, every leaf, every feather, everything, including this thing about time. Every instant is unique and original, never to be repeated. Everything of creation, of reality, is unique and original, instant by instant, no matter how vast the expression of creation may be. It's all unique and original. When we, as man, are brought up by nature, we are unique and original too, because we have unique dreams we've created, which are thoughts we think that no one has defined for us because they're undefinable. So the rituals that they perform in Dark and Visible Part 5 is to form self-obsession and become, so the rich breaking, because they all this attack on them, break you down, break you down, break you down, break you down, and capture that, right? That obsession is that repetition of the self-obsession that we have. And talking English is self-obsession. We're repeating, we're talking. So when we wake up, we're saying, we sense each other's intention. We're relearning how to use our senses to communicate, because we can drop alphabets, drop numbers, we can drop it all. And still, like nature rolls on, doesn't need any of this. You know, no animal needs it. No animal needs the occults to exist. The wind doesn't need it. The sunlight doesn't need it. Everything around doesn't need it. Yet somehow, me, man, are the only ones somehow think we need it. Yeah. You know?
But
there's hang on. Sorry.
There's also, I think, that the slave mentality that we have, you know, that makes us go towards astrology or other things to be explained to us, because at the very base, look at many of us, even some watching tonight, have not taken ownership for their life and designed their own life. We prefer to go to work and work for someone else than design our own life. I've done it pretty much all my life. And we are under a slave mentality, and until we break free from that slave mentality and start designing your own life for what you came here to do, I think it's purely normal that you go and look outside of yourself for answers. But at one point, I've just switched that internal, and I found a lot more answers in my art that I can find outside of myself with any occultist that even came on the Tru-Mon show. Even Santos taught me stuff, but like, I cannot experience the stars and and all that stuff. So it's just thoughts. It's just thoughts or fantasy, probably, because where does it come from? What is the new if we consider the old? Like.
But we've even got to watch that designing our own life, that doesn't become self-obsession.
Because you're relying on alphabet thoughts to do it.
Yeah, and that's why I said, you know, we've got to look at what do we do, what can we do that's the best use of our life and our resources to help everyone around us, not our own life, not us, not me, not my life, that's not the important thing.
The language of English or French or any alphabet language is energized with our intention from so young. So we form sentences that are sentence structures because we are sentenced in the prison of our own making. And so we go through stages in our life in the system because there's this disenfranchised feeling. There's this unsettled feeling. We know something's not right. We know things don't seem to make sense. We don't know what that even means to even think that, but we know that things that aren't right. Most people know something's happened. They don't realize what the hijacking is and what's happened to all of us, to each of us, and how we each are responsible for it. Even though our parents and those who raised us, innocent or not, had performed these satanic inculcation rituals on us. But what I'm getting at is that the self-obsession is our own life energy. It's like if you imagine a mirror and you see a picture of you or what you think is you. Now, you could be standing over a stream in nature and you see this reflection in the water as it's trickling past down a stream. And then you want to go back and see it again and go and see it again and go and see it again, right? The alphabet thoughts is this reflection, and we become attached to them. That forms the self-obsession, that forms the ego, the software program of the robot, the slave or the drone. And we can then be manipulated through social engineering into a new kind of consciousness, which we're all experiencing today, which is going to be this defined consciousness, defined freedom, defined peace, which the occultists are working on from the bigger picture of everything mapped out, right? So you'll see all the occults coming back. You'll see all the ancient mysteries all coming back. All this is crap, you know? And it comes at everyone in so many different ways, it's staggering. But all you're seeing is just your reflection in that stream of water passing by that you fell in love with. And you love your own reflection so much. And so you want to hold on to that because that's where your reality's been defined. And if that gets threatened, you will do everything you possibly can to protect that. I'm a Greek. I'm being invaded by Turks. I must fight the Turk because the Turks want something from what I've got, or vice versa. So you end up with these wars, right? I grew up with that because I knew what my father went through with some of these, because Dad had to go back to fight these wars, the Turks over Cyprus, because my mother comes from Cyprus. But this problem has happened all through Europe. This kind of invasion and domination has happened everywhere, because behind all this are these occultists. And these occultic practices are the social engineering to capture all of man and bring them through gradualism, through the generations, into a one world language, of a one world consciousness, of a one world freedom, of the one world law, as that new world order, right? Without anyone suspecting the sleight of hand. There's the little cleverness how these people do it. So even relying on the alphabet thoughts to define our waking up is what Fiona's saying, or touching on. Watch out, because if you look carefully, look at how many thoughts you are thinking that are alphabet based, that you've energized. So all you're doing is you're still falling in love with reflections of you that you've energized, given your life energy to it. You like it. You liked when you comb your hair in the mirror, and you like I trim my beard, and I like to look around, give an impression. Man, we put a lot of fucking effort into this ego, and it's unbelievable. It's incredible.
And we also cling to that ego because of our total doubt and uncertainty about who we are, who we really are. Because, I mean, really, no one should be listening to us right now. Nobody should be listening to us, because they should all be out there creating their unique original lives and looking after their brothers and sisters. If everyone was truly woken up, no one would be here. You wouldn't be there. We wouldn't be here, and no one would be listening. And this is where, again, the trap of everyone, you know, going to see some guru or consciousness, someone, or this, that, or the other, or even listening to us, it's only there because of that doubt and uncertainty that leaves them not able to create their own life. So they're still looking for answers from us and from you and from other people. And then when they talk with their friends about all these subjects, they're looking for answers. If we were all truly awake, we'd just be out there creating.
Exactly.
We wouldn't be here listening.
Exactly. I say it all the time. I say it often, even coming on YouTube. It's nonsense. And I said it in one of my recent Tru-Mon show when I was diving deep alone. I said, the more subscribers I have, the less I want to appear here. It's kind of weird, but that's how I feel. The more subscriber, the more views, the more, like, I don't want to become a puppet or a fame or something. Like, it's not about me. It's about us waking up, and we shouldn't even be here. We shouldn't even be on YouTube talking about all this. We should be living in love and harmony. That's what should be happening right now. But because of the situation,
the sun is already shining. It's already there.
Yeah.
The nature's already there. Who we really are is already there. We're already here. Everything that's real is already here. But the doubt and uncertainty, it comes again, like when we say to our child, son, that's a daffodil and that's yellow, and then go on with a scientific explanation. We're actually saying to our children, to man, we want you to have doubt and uncertainty about who you are so you cannot create your unique original dreams. We want you to become dependent on us to define your reality for you, and we're going to map it all out. We're going to map everything out for you. And that will be your nipple that you suck on for your whole of your fake life.
And that actually gives you your personality, because when you're talking, you're sitting around, you're having chats, you have this stuff that you know, and so you can talk about it, and that's how you fit in. That's how you have a persona that can fit into a social scene or whatever, because you have something to talk about that you know, but it's all been defined for you. So really you're just mimicking, you're just puppeting everything that you've been taught. But then that's where we can get to the attachment Arthur's talking about, because we can get into huge arguments about, no, this is right, no, that's right, no, this is, but it's both sides are just mimicking. They have no proof.
It's a real obsession, because I can experience it, because the other day I was with Gavin outside and we were making videos at my chilling spot, and there was 3 big birds. Okay, I call them birds, that they fly in the air, they have wings. Anyway, but they were super huge and they were looking like eagles, and I was trying to find the name for it. Like, I was trying to tell Gavin, oh yeah, they're eagles, or there's, like, I was totally trying to define them, where I should be like just in awe in front of it and appreciate it.
Yeah, we still
do it to each other, and actually automatically. But here's another.
Well, we think we're bad parents if we're not explaining everything to our children, because we're taught that we have to explain.
We're doing the wrong thing if we don't get our kids educated, and it's very cunning how their cultures, because all their cults are behind all this. The thing is, when you define something for a child, you're telling them you are not magnificent. We want you to believe that you are not magnificent, that you're not capable of creating who you really are and what you're going to be. Allow you to be undefinable, right? So the fact that we break the will, again, this, the dark and invisible power five, breaking the will. If you break the will, you set in confusion. It's confusion. Confusion is chaos. And when you're in a state of confusion, you can be manipulated and controlled by the occultists. Because if you're not confused, you can't be manipulated to be controlled, right? So they rely on the confusion. This is why they come with all the storytelling at you. They come at you with television, because television is black magic practice. The internet is black magic practice. Mobile phones is black magic practice. All this technology is just black magic. It's fantasy. It doesn't exist. It ain't real. We are performing everything for it. It's a dead corpse. The whole of the system is dead. If you see a dead body and it's not moving and you want to make it move, you've got to pick it up and start moving its arms. And there's your mobile phone talking over the internet through the technology with whatever you want to, whatever digital thing you want to do. It's all man-made. There's no soul there. Nothing. It's robotic programming by all the men and women performing the ritual of that self-obsession that we call society, call commerce, banking, you know, and all the laws that come with it. And every single man, woman, and child who was broken down into the world of these lies, who've ended up in jail breaking, they're all innocent. They all need to be released from all the jails. Because when you realize how this practice works and how the judges who are behind it are manipulating everyone, you'll see how sinister the Freemasons and the occultists, or they are one and the same, are. Right? But it is confusion. When you go into their courts, they rely on your confusion to have their power of their black magic work on you. Right? So it's confusion that will suck you into Christianity or Judaism or Buddhism. The Buddhism is another social engineering construct. Because we define the daffodil as yellow, the child is looking at it and the child, oh, I can see it's yellow, Dad. But the yellow it's not real to the child. That's just a definition. So we think, oh, this is Arthur. And Arthur's looking in that reflection in the mirror, like looking at the image through the trickling water of the stream. And I think, oh, that's Arthur. But Arthur's not there. I'm not there. Arthur's here. Real. The sun's shining. It's real. The wind, everything of reality, it's already here. But we doubt it. We doubt who we are. And there's your confusion.
Yeah.
And in this confusion, we're relying on the alphabet thoughts that we've practiced from so long. It's a library, man. All the libraries in the world is in your head. It's the background. And
I told you that the most answers I found is within myself. It's not outside of myself. And I thought at the beginning I was going to find answers outside of myself, but you were a very turning point into my seeking or awakening, or I don't know how to call it, because I think we're all awake. It's just some of us don't ask questions. Me, I question things, and you question things, and you investigate. But so I think we're all. It's not because people are sleeping; they just don't ask questions. They're just unconscious of their behavior, and they don't ask questions, and their connection is getting broken to the they break their connection to the source.
Exactly. That's why we say in all our work, don't believe anything we say. Believe nothing. Use scrutiny. Scrutinize every sentence. Scrutinize every article we write. Scrutinize every video we're involved in. Don't just believe what we're saying. Use scrutiny, because if you scrutinize, you will start to use your senses that are without alphabet thoughts. Don't rely on. Look, alphabet thoughts is like a treasure chest that the occultists who floated across the oceans on their UFOs, on their unidentified floating objects, their big navigating ships that were mapped out. They come with all their funny hats, right? The Captain Blighs, Captain Cooks, all right? They had their chests, all their books in it. Now, you imagine generations of this brainwashing that they brought all the man on land everywhere, in spite of all the devastation that they caused to all these tribes after they mapped. You know, see, they came as missionaries, scientists, botanists, right? They lived amongst these tribes, mapped everything out, recorded it all in their alphabet books. Then they sent their military in and their armies in, the navies, and decimate the tribes, right? And then they got what remained, mostly innocent children, to enter the treasure chests of all their libraries. Now, you imagine a kid opening up, like they've got their, what do you call those kids' play boxes? They open it up, they pull out their dresses, and they're looking for something. They're looking for something they want to wear to play today. There's so many things inside there, right? That's what we do inside our head. We're going in there. We're thinking somewhere in amongst all these thoughts we have, we're going to find the answers and the remedy. There will be nothing there, because every alphabet thought will only keep you in the matrix, keep you in your ego, keep you performing the marionette that you believe you are. Right? Because who we are is already existing, but we doubt who we are. So we still hold on to the fake persona, and we think, this was defined for me over and over and over and over again. I fell in love with it so many times. That's why it's school. Arthur, say after me, the teacher says, A, B, C. And again, Arthur, A, B, C. Good boy, Arthur. Now, write it down, Arthur. A, B, C. Oh, well done. I'll give you 5 stars. And the occultists practice this self-obsession with the rituals of the human sacrifice, or the man sacrifices, animal sacrifices, because the bloodletting is this practice that forms the alphabets, that forms the English language, right? Because the emotion, the compelling program, is their intention encoded in the language that hijacks us. But we're too fucking stupid. And we glorify our stupidity, man. We glorify our stupidity in 1,001 ways. It's amazing, you know, what the fireworks, the New Year's Eve celebrations, you know, the Sydney Harbour Bridge, and the Olympic opening of the Olympic Games, and the opening of Parliament, and celebration of the presidents and the prime ministers, and you name. Look, we celebrate through sport, through fashion, this ritual, this satanic murder. We do it because every man, woman, and child who's lost into the fashion, into the sport, into the drugs, into the social engineering, into politics, into whatever, occults, right? Because all religions are of the occult. Everything of the system is occults. Is this self-obsession ritual this broken will man, lost to confusion, right? And now, if you ever saw the movie Dark City, Alex Pro's movie, watch it, and think about what we're talking about. You'll see these aliens a step behind the scenes at 12 o'clock at midnight. The world stops, their world stops, and they go and they tinker and they change things around, and then the time starts, and there might be character changes, different locations they're living, and no one really knows what's going on. Most people are sensing something ain't right. And it wasn't Sunshine Beach, or whatever it was, whatever they call that beach, and no one's ever been to it. Well, that is the promise of the American dream, the promise of the Australian dream, the promise of your glory. You'll go to be with Jesus in your afterlife. It's that you'll never get to. The promise of having your own suburban home with your own piece of land and have your freedom there. All the migrants that were brought over from Europe that were all under the occult's promise to this new lands. They came. I mean, look, all these Freemasons, they came on all these UFOs, unidentified floating objects, right? They came with no passports. They came with no visas. They came with no political infrastructures whatsoever to rely on their ability to visit the man on the land, who mostly welcomed them and did their hulas and celebrated them, and then after they documented, mapped everything, decimated, they started to bring in passports, customs, created borders, right? Because the very thing they relied on to get to where they wanted to be, they must deny that to everybody else later. Now you'll see this hypocrisy all through their law. They talk about their law as almighty. It's only been here like for fucking 100 years and a bit more, 200 years on Australia. I mean, we've got man on the land that's been here with undefinable time.
Same like Canada. Same like Canada.
It's all shit. But look at the horror of the world we live in, the poverty, the malnutrition, the sickness, the disease, the injustice, the cruelty, the abuse, the conspiracies that I guess you could call it organized crime, because it is organized crime, that's used by the occultists or the higher levels in Freemasonry, and all filtering down through their world of lackeys that penetrate into every area of the system, including sports stars who sell out to it, while they're successful athletes or sports people, whoever they may be, right? So what I'm trying to get at is that watch out diving into your head, thinking there's something there that's going to give you your answer. There is nothing there. Who we are is not in our head. Who we are doesn't end here, started underneath and ended here. Who we are is beyond all this. Who we are is already the bird, is already the tree, it's already the insect, already the breeze. And the whole of nature and what we experience is of our dreaming, of the thoughts we think. So the horrible weather is created by us because we dream impure thoughts. The reason we have earthquakes is we dream them. The reason we experience really terrible weather is because we dream them, because they're in the horror of the trauma, the self-obsession, where all that jealousy, rage, anger, hopelessness, emptiness is there.
Envy,
right?
envy also.
And we are lost in the reflections of that fake persona, that marionette, believing it is someone else's responsibility.
We're very envious of each other also, and that's very important to point out, because especially when I hear I try to not to concentrate my effort on this with them, but when they see like nice car, when Gavin see a nice car passing by, he's always like, oh, look at that car, so it's very important to bring a lot of material, a lot of inflate that material world a lot, so we're captive of that envious state of envying everybody around us and being jealous, and this is something that we have in our hearts also. That comes natural it's our natural state, I think.
It's our senses. Our senses, when I say I'm not defining the fake persona, but the senses is the consciousness of the living creation of man, because that's what we are.
Yeah.
And it has no alphabet thoughts there to define it. Without sense, there'd be no life for us to carry as the vessel, for us to live the lie as the marionette. The occultists rely on us still to have sense. but it's so clouded with the confusion of everything defined that we've entered another dream world that's superimposed over reality. That's why the child will wear a Superman costume and run around still as the man. The child is still sensing the wind, still smelling and can hear and see, right? Generally, right? But it's so lost in the imagination, because all of the occult is imagination. We're imagining what is there, but it's not. We fantasize, because the whole of the system is fantasy, delusion, illusion. So we worship the reflection of our self-obsession, because that's all that it is. And we somehow think that's who we are. But these are just ritual sacrificing of innocent men and women who've been tortured, and we're worn their dead life. We wear their broken will. We wear their confusion. Because you imagine being pinned down and there's no one there to help you get out of there, and they're torturing you. Then they bring you back and they torture you again, and they bring you back until you die, and they capture you. That hopelessness. That
as much as I love reggae music, and I love to see concerts of reggae music and all that, because I think it has a potential to a bit wake up some souls out there, which it did for me. Reggae music was a big part in my realization. It sparked my research into Babylon and all that. And I don't think without Bob Marley, I would have been that awake today, that conscious and that aware. So I sense that there's something wrong with those gathering so many people at the same place, harvesting energy like that. I don't know if you get my point there.
Look at the connections of Bob Marley and the record producer and the record company behind Bob. It's a whole psyops. I mean, you know, I forgot his name, Richard, whatever his name is.
Blackwell.
He comes from one of the 20 wealthiest families of the whole of Jamaica.
Yeah.
You know, and it all has British bloodline connections. You think that the music industry and all that and the whole reggae, look, mate, they find something that happens amongst the people naturally, sort of, and becomes institutionalized. Like what happened with the black people that became the blues, and they became institutionalized, politicalized, culturalized, socialized, right? We now have a rock and roll industry that's evolved out of that to, you know, through the Beatles to Led Zeppelin, or Bob before that, Elvis, and going back, you know, and now to hip hop and all the other stuff. They steal what is real to the innocent and turn it into something they can use for self-obsession. So you have a music industry that got you with reggae using Bob, who willingly wanted to be a rock star. He willingly wanted to be a rock star before he was even a rock star. His goal was to be a rock star. So he was already fucking psyoped himself. He admits it. It's in his own. It's in his own works. He talks about this. So the whole of Rastafarianism is a psyop. No different to Christianity. No different to New Age. It's just another. Look, the system is a supermarket of social engineering products. There are so many, covering so many different types, that there's always something for everyone. But all of them have the same effect on those who walk into that supermarket and buy those products from the shelves. So there's no point putting down Rastafarianism in that way, or rock and roll, because all of it, right? Even permaculture is institutionalized. So much to do with raw food now is institutionalized, politicalized, culturalized.
Self-obsessive.
It's all self-obsession, because
the ego, you see it in corporations also. That's what it is.
The greatest lie and lie is the one closest to truth. It's so close that the confusion makes it undefinable, even though it's been defined. We don't know where the lie ends and where it started. We get so fucking confused with this. So it's easy to rat out this confusion, because the alphabet thoughts in your head that come from the melodies. Look, music that's mapped out. Look, I'm into music because I use it as a tool, and I still want to use music with other artists who want to work with us to help us get this music out. Because
we don't have nothing against music. I don't have nothing against reggae music, against Rastafari, I'm a rebel for life. but I can talk about it. I can discuss it with you. Like, I mean,
Well, we gotta have
I sense that that there is something. Like, I don't need a Rastafari to show me the way. Like, I can find the way myself.
for us.
Like,
No one needs us to show the way. But if you sense our intentions, we sense your intentions. We each sense the intentions, and we work together with that. We're actually working with our senses. And our senses already exist because it's the senses that we breathe. It's the senses that we eat. It's the senses that we smell. It's the senses of our feet that touches the ground. It's reality. And the more we return to reality that's undefined to each of us,
exactly.
why would we want to interfere with your creation of the man? Because that is already us without being defined.
Yeah.
We already got it all. We all got land. We've all got food. We've all got abundance. When we get past this, we don't need to rely on the inculcation of music, institutionalized music, anything mapped out into musical notes. Look, I've got guitars. It's all musical scaled. All this is the occult. It's black magic. The guitar can't play for itself. It can't create progeny. My guitar will never produce its own children. It has no ancestors. The musical notes and charts of all of the occults, from Beethoven, Mozart, it has no progeny. It will never have siblings. It'll never have ancestors. It's recorded so that we can reperform through self-obsession. Bach, Mozart.
And that's why we create careers. That's why we create careers, and we go out into the world and start making money with that career, music career.
And while we are lost in the self-obsession, we're dying. All we can do while we're lost to self-obsession is commit suicide to the living soul that we're gifted with creating a unique original soul, and we reject it, we forsake it, because we prefer the rock and roll, we prefer Rastafarianism, we prefer Jesus, we prefer God, a defined God, whatever's defined for us. And when we go with what's defined, we're gone.
So much of the music is about emotion and the emotion we experience with it, and that's why we want to keep listening to the same song again and again and again, because we want to recreate or relive that whatever emotion was stirred in us by that song or that piece of music in the first place. So it's like that. There's no originality there, no creative, because we would just want to keep repeating the same thing.
It's broken more music.
The same with our conversations. I mean, if you think about it, how many times have you had the same conversation throughout your life to different people? There's nothing unique and original in that moment with whoever you're talking to, because you're just repeating. Often it's stories. We love to tell our stories from the past, but we're just recreating, and or we tell it to make ourselves seem better, make ourselves out to be better than we are, or better because we have so much doubt about who we are. So we have to tell our stories again and again and again to keep convincing ourselves and convincing others that we are okay, that we are somebody. And so we retell those stories. Exactly. It's all broken down. Because there's nothing in that moment being created unique and original between us.
And that's the doubt and uncertainty behind it again. You'll find behind all alphabet thoughts and all the emotions we perform, because we're performing the customs of the emotions of those psyops in our heads, be it music, film, fashion, whatever. It's doubt and uncertainty. That's why we do it. It's because if we didn't doubt who we are, we wouldn't go into a big group and go to a Rastafarian concert. We don't need to, because we already are that. But because we doubt that, we think the love is there in the concert. We think the love will be there with the rock star. The love there will be the Messiah or the Savior. The love will there be with the defined God embraced in the temple of the church or the synagogue or the mosque or the New Age auditorium or whatever, or on YouTube, or even listening to us, listening to these videos. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
If we doubt who we are, we pass that responsibility on to others to fill what we gave up, because we gave it up. And if we give it up, you're going to want to, and that's what the occultists rely on. They rely on this. They need you to take the astrotheology. They need you to take Egyptian mysticism. They need you to take the Darwinian evolutionary principles of science and all that garbage. They hit us with so many different things because we doubt who we are. We have given up who we really are. And so we get our heads filled. Well, the empty space that came out of the doubt has to be filled with something to give us a sense of belonging about what we are. And because we've still got a good heart, all of us got good hearts, and we think we're doing the right thing, and we want to do the right thing, but we do it through charities. We do it through taxation. We do it through rock and roll concerts. We do it through, and all of it is a fucking slave system within a slave system, and everyone is broken down. Like when you go to the bank, you got a bank teller, that man, woman has to be educated to become the white collar and the blue collar to perform that job. That nature does not teach that. It comes from the occults and all those who perform the ritual. So same with the engineering, manufacturing cars, manufacturing is the cities, everything that's relied on destroying reality. Because we've got to destroy reality. The dark and invisible power 5, the ritual of murdering that innocent man, is the destruction to nature that forms the skyscrapers, the mining, and all that, and builds the concrete and the plastic and the steel, because we have lost who we are. We're so fucking confused that we celebrate the cities. We celebrate the anniversaries of the cities. We got aboriginals, but we who celebrate with the British Empire their own destruction to their own ancestors. And they're so fucking broken down. It's unbelievable, and you see it filtering through in these sort of songs that in halftime of football games or pre something special or some whatever, and you see these Aboriginals, but they don't know who they are. They're so westernized now. They're so into the occults. They don't even know what's been done to them, and they're so lost in it. And bless their hearts, they're innocent. They don't know what's been done to them. They really don't. Most people don't know.
And there's so much tokenism, like over here, I don't know what you do over there with at the beginning of school assemblies, at the beginning of any sort of speechy things or any gatherings, they always have this acknowledgement of country here, where it's a little speech where they say, we acknowledge this is the land of whatever the local tribe was of Aboriginals, and you know, this is their land, always will be. And I'm thinking, well, if we're really sincere in that, why don't we all get out of here and say, here's your land back, here it is? But we don't. It's just this token bullshit over the top to make everyone feel good and make them think they're doing the right thing, because we're saying, hey, we recognize it's your land, but we're going to continue sitting on it and using it and destroying it and stuffing it
and run our laws,
and you have no control over it whatsoever. It's
Australian Canada is the same. We just the Babylonian just celebrated the 150 years Canada. What is that? What was there before? When there was nobody?
Nothing there before, as if it wasn't thriving land. You know, it was as if nothing happened before that, before Canada came on. Yeah.
It's the social engineering. You know, it gets into the flat Earth. It gets into all the rights and wrongs about history. Look, the occultists use their own occults to set up their own heroes. So you think of the occults or the occultists as landscapers, agriculturalists, if you want, but landscape is probably the better one. And you've got an owner who wants you to landscape their garden, and so you go in there and you plant. We're talking plants, intel operatives, right? You plant this guy, and he's going to come up through the grassroots, and he'll start talking about freedom and truth and consciousness and this one and this one. And so you have this growing thing. But the people get in the grassroots, get exposed to this, and they think that the plants is one of them, because these plants who are occultists, they were revealed to them the truth about what was really behind Christianity and the methods used, the truth behind so many things of history. And so they expose the truth of their predecessors and all their lying, so that they become trusted in the next generations, who will let them influence them with their social engineering. So the power of the occult still in place, and all the occultists continue being the pharaohs and the emperors and the kings and queens and the high priests and the law, and all that filtering to that world. They're so cunning. They're so cunning how they do it. And I've been stressing this for years now. It is a one bloodline family, not the one David Icke goes on about. It's truly one family. And they've maintained it through the Pierce Period Genealogical Society. It goes back to the Norman Conquest, to Charlemagne, through Charlemagne to Norman Conquest, down to Alexander the Great. That's why you find George Bush Jr. and Bill Clinton from the same bloodline. Diana Spencer with them in the same bloodline. What a coincidence. You'll find all the royal houses, all the Europa, all these people. And look, and I haven't got evidence of this, but I wouldn't be surprised that actors like Russell Crowe and the Prime Minister of Australia, Tony Bishop, whatever his name is, I don't know. Malcolm Turnbull now. See, I don't know. I lose track of all this. But they probably are all coming from the same bloodlines. They're all connected because it is a one family rulership. And the Bible is fully encoded with the master blueprint of this agenda. And when they talk about the chosen ones, it's them, this bloodline. And they are given all the support, and they're the ones that grow through the arts of filmmaking, music production, fashion, politics, law, and they end up with pivotal positions, right? Because they are in on it. They know the truth, or they know enough what they've been told, maybe still compartmentalize things above them too. But it is one family. This is why I say people like Sacha Stone, watch out for him. He's one of them. There's no doubt he's one of them. And you'll find that people are, I've forgotten, there's so many names I just can't even remember now. There are so many of them that they are barristers or lawyers, good people, talking about good things. But if you listen carefully, they're just forming a new prison for the good-hearted to enter and experience that good-heartedness. But they don't see that the gatekeepers all around it are all good guys who came from the same orders, societies, lodges, the bad guys, except that all those trapped in it will celebrate them and, you know, like toast to them as there's one of them, the heroes. They're fucking slave masters. And the New World Order is like this, right? It's a one world federation controlled by this one family. One family, man.
Yeah,
and they've documented.
That's what Melissa talks about a lot in her papers also, that those stuff that you talk about when your awareness is not awake, like being conscious is awake awareness. When it's not awake, those things will go right past you and you will get into it. But guys like me that have an awareness maybe a bit greater will not get sucked into this, will be probably see it, but will not be sucked in like I would. I won't pour my whole consciousness into this. You know what I mean?
Well, the thing the thing that this is Fee and I here now talking about this. We question what is our consciousness.
Yeah.
Because when you listen carefully, it's still alphabet thoughts defining what we think is who we are there. You know, we're still inside these trunks, these platoid trunks, and we're pulling things out, and somewhere down there we're going to find who we are. And we're going diving into our brain, into the brainwashing of the occults, right back to when we entered the womb. Now, you've got to look at this. The women, they're conditioned through social engineering. They're defined into what is a mother, what is a good woman, what is it to be someone who's doing something for the community, for society, for the children, as a nurturer. But because it's so defined themselves, as we arrive in the womb, the inculcation of our own mothers is already stereotyping us, because she was stereotyped, mum was stereotyped by these occults. And so the plachoid chest we dive into goes right back to the womb. But then it goes right back through all the ancestors who toxified, you know, diseased all their descendants to us, down to us. So unless you can stop and make sense, you will not know what your consciousness is, because your consciousness is undefinable. It can't be even talked about because we can't define it. Even if I explain to you what my consciousness is, that's still not my consciousness or your consciousness.
Yeah, I think the more conscious you become, the more you become aware of how unconscious you are.
Yeah.
It's like the more you know, the more you don't know. It's exactly like that. And
exactly.
I think that's something we've been looking at a lot lately. It's like just uncovering even more of the self-obsession in us and how it just creeps in so many little ways in day-to-day life if you're not careful, even about what you eat and what you drink and when you eat and when you drink and what jobs you have to do and when you're tired and when you're this and you find if you keep looking and keep looking, most of it is just self-obsession, you know, and that's why you don't want to finish that job right now. You want to go inside and do something else, or just everything, or why you don't want to eat the healthiest thing for you to eat right then. You want to eat something a little more tantalizing to the senses or something like that. And it's all self-obsession, all of it.
We rather do what's easy than do what's right. Huh?
Yeah, often.
Because we don't know. You see, the doubt goes so long. We practice so long. We don't know where we even begun.
Practice for so long.
Yeah, we don't know what it is. And the thing is that, like, we've had people come and stay with us, some for a year, you know, some for a bit less, you know. We've had a lot of people. We've had Hannah here who's been here for, 6 years almost, yes, I think.
Not longer.
But yeah, so we've seen and then there's us. We've experienced this trauma, because self-obsession is trauma. And how the trauma works is about surviving the marionette, because we have placed so much love that defined who we believe we are. In this case, permaculture, that we think that's who we are. And it gets into, this is one of our friends, a great guy, you know, goes into soil science. But the obsession is that reflection in the water or in the mirror that we fall in love with. It's still defined. And so we form the relationship with the fake persona that embodies these reflections, the thoughts, these alphabet thoughts in the head, the imagery. And so we can go to war with another man when that self-obsession, that image is presumed to be attacked or threatened, right? And so people will live the lie within the obsession itself, even though it's so close to nature, which shows you how our ancestors fell, because they were all in paradise, right? And they've never been able, through all the descendants, to return to paradise. Yet, how was it? They had everything in magnificence. Yet they choose to fall amongst this and walk away from it to destroy it all. Now, when you look at the self-obsession amongst us today, you see this bond to the fake all-seeing eye of that obsession, and we believe that's who we are. And because it carries all the emotion we've given it, because it's all doubt, remember, it's all coming from doubt in the first place. It's all coming from that uncertainty, all confusion. So it comes up underneath as writing someone else off, or anger, or there's a whole range of emotions that come up for us. Not least, that leads us to war and hatred. So we've had one guy here, had 4 kids, who wanted to get involved with us. I talk about this because people need to learn these things, because we're still learning it. Good intentions, a really good guy, but he carries a lot of anger and trauma underneath. His wife passed away. He decided he wanted to get involved with us. Fiona and I spoke to him before he even came down. We went over a lot of this stuff about the self-obsession, the trauma stuff. We went through a lot of this stuff. Then he comes down with the kids for a short trip. We went over it again, started pointing things out about behavioral things about this stuff, and what the consequences are when you go down the kingdom well, how you got to learn to let go of everything, because no one owns anything anymore, and learning how to hold a bigger dream than their self-obsession, so that the bigger dream of where our ancestors were in paradise dominates, and everything else below it has to be let go of. Now, this is frightening to do. It's deeply scary. He then moves down. We would have had, and you can join in this one if you want. We went through this. No one owns anything. We're going to get a second house. We're going to rent a second house. Organize the job, trade work, bring money into the group, support the group with the holding of the bigger dream, so that the bigger dream is what we're all working with, right? And we're all acting responsible. I'm responsible to hold that dream too, and I care for that. So I can be seen to look like a dictator. I could be seen to be looking like I'm some sort of egomaniac, but I'm not in that way. I have my problems, but I don't let anything undermine that big dream. I really feel it. It's the same with Fee. Now, within 3 or 4 months, it could have led to fisticuffs between us, between me and this guy, because he decided through his obsession that there was something I'm doing to him and his boy, because it had to do with his oldest son. And there were issues there. I won't go into all that here, but that he would destroy, he couldn't hold the bigger dream, that his own life was threatened, and the materialism and all the incentives of money and fictional dollars somehow think is going to sort all these problems out down the line. When I kept pointing out to him, none of this is going to fix it. Even the guy that we stitched up this contract job for him to go and do trade work, and I won't go into all that, but the point is, even those who come so close, who say they want to walk the true road, they don't know how to. And it gets so terrifying when you have people like us who can see it and point it out and go in and help with helping people to learn to see the obsession and all the effects of that. Doesn't matter, doesn't have to just be the word obsession. It can be used the word trauma. It can be used as fantasy. There's many ways you can look at through many windows into the one same thing. But what I'm trying to point out is that when you actually do the real work, the self-obsession will destroy everything that matters to the real heart of the man. Right? Now, we do it to each other. The reason we can't work together is because of this trauma, this self-obsession, because we don't know how to hold the bigger picture and still sense what's going on. And if we don't hold it, the trauma dominates. And we had one of our other friends there, wonderful guy. He fell apart before my eyes. And I'm looking at his eyes. He couldn't say anything because he's too scared, too fucking frightened because of what happened to him and how he grew up and his attachment to his self-obsession. And these are really good people, man, salt of the earth people, both of these men.
The thing
but
is,
fucking lost.
The problem is when
too much attachment too. We have too much attachment.
That we can see this dream, but we can't help becoming attached to the self-obsession of who we are in that dream.
Yeah.
Rather than what can I do for that dream, it becomes about, oh yeah, but I actually want to do that rather than that.
Because it's a self-obsession.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. I actually don't feel like doing this and I don't want to do that because and it becomes this self-obsession about, yeah, what I see this big dream, but what is my part in the dream? And that becomes the focus, my part, what I'm doing. Okay, I have to work hard today and I don't want to work hard today and all that sort of stuff. That's what the thing is to let go of. You got to let go of that self-obsession of who you are being in that.
It's very hard when you've been doing it for most of your life, if not all your life. And that
was my next question. While heavily under trauma, how do you find balance to return home or something like that?
You can let go and sense, you're never going to fix it. You see, it's in the sense, not the nonsense. Remember, people, it's like those kids diving into their play toy boxes, opening up, and they're pulling out all kinds of stuff. The people today who are waking up of all ages are just diving into their heads, thinking something in there. It could be permaculture, it could be biodynamic gardening, it could be Jesus, it could be Galactic Federation channeling. What? Yeah. It doesn't matter. There's 1,001 of these things inside the supermarket of the system of the social engineering. But it's in letting go of all of it. Now, the thing is that can you sense another man and love that man unconditionally, in spite of what you feel? Because what you feel is emotion. It's emotion. People, when you really sense, you have no attachment in that way emotionally with anything or anyone. So there's nothing to be threatened because there's nothing there to survive it. You've got nothing to survive for. But when you attach yourself to self-obsession, you have something to survive for. You have something to protect. And you call it a Greek, or you call it Italian, or you call it punk rocker, or you call it lesbian. It doesn't matter what you call it. It's stereotyping. And inside the stereotyping, it's a matrix of ABC again in there too. And it will not rescue you. It will only hold you because it is a jealous lover. The occultists are jealous lovers. When they do these rituals on these ritual sacrifice, they are jealous lovers. They want us. They love us. They're too fucking jealous and envious of us. So the self-obsession is that reflection in the water as you're watching it, or in the mirror when you're standing in front of the mirror. You fall in love and you become jealous of who you are, because that ego, that identity is not you at all. When you're truly conscious, you haven't got one, because you already are, because you don't doubt it. It's only because you doubt who you are that you think that there is some fake image there of who you are, and you'll fight for it, and you'll call it permaculture and social science, and you'll call it new age, and you call it freedom, and you call it truth, and this particular way. I mean, we know a woman for 8 years now in America who read the Ring of Cedars books, a really good woman, but she was heavily brought up in the occults. She's woken up, but she has to condition people to learn the law, because she thinks that learning the law, in the way she sees it, that only way people can come and be on the land that she's got. She
to protect the land.
To protect the land. And she's fucking lost. She's gone. And she'll destroy everyone who comes there, because she's self-obsessed. You see? So it's
learning the selflessness. It really is. It's learning selflessness.
But let's put, unless we can sense, you won't be able to sense this man, in spite of all the trauma this man's experienced. If you can't sense this man, you won't realize this man, in spite of all the damage done to this man, he's still strong enough not to influence and affect the bigger dream the man holds, so that the bigger dream grows. But if you lose connection with your sense and you fall into your self-obsession, the trauma will play off whatever shit's in this man, and you'll think it's coming from me, when it's not coming from me at all, because I'm holding the bigger dream. I can't change all the trauma that was done to this man's body, right? I can't change that history. It was done. Fair bit of done by this man, a lot of it done by others when he was too young to know what to do and had no protection. But the point is, the only way we can work together is when we can sense another man and sense that man's intentions, and be strong enough not to let the emotion of whatever that man carries as trauma, or this man or that man, meaning we're talking women, children, everyone, right? Are we strong enough to withstand whatever shit comes up and be able to say no to that shit, and not to dump it, not to sit there and worship and feed it and get lost in it? Because that's why you'll break communities up, you'll break families up, you'll break children, you'll break fucking everything up, right? Confusion creates chaos, creates order. And the order is the occultists that come in and provide all the interjoining, interlocutory methods of third-party intermeddlers, interceders, interlopers, with their laws and their occults, and their like Santos with his astrotheology, to keep you all in one, as one, keep it all together. So all the confusion continues, all that crap, nothing's changed, but we're in a fake order. The true order is when we can say, I will not let my shit be dominating another man. I will not destroy the dream that I hold, that is the living dream of man's paradise, as we call kingdom. We will not undermine it. I will wake up and go to bed every day and put all my energy there, in spite of whatever's happening, no matter what. Someone might be not working half of 2-3 days, someone else gone off to the beach for this day, someone's doing that, whatever. We still hold that dream, so we don't sell out. And if we do that and work hard at that, because it is labor, but not labor as self-obsessive, it's a willing surrender, like breathing in, breathing out, like the sun shining, because we know what the intention is, why we shine. There's a reason, there's an outcome, why we shine. If we can sense that, we can get out of this mess together. Now, but we each got to get out of the mess. We don't need each other to get out of the mess. I'm not going to make you responsible for me to get out of this mess. I'm getting out of the mess in spite of what the fuck you do. I'm getting out of the mess because I refuse to say no. I refuse to say yes, whatever. I got to not let myself be seduced by this dark shit. Right? So that's why we created a garden, create abundance for other people to have something we can share. Not to come and look at me and all my shit, because I'm fucking damaged. There's no one you're going to meet coming out of the system who isn't. Everyone's damaged. You can't measure it. There's no point measuring it. It's bullshit. Do we want to get out of this mess? If we do, who are you going to do it with? Now, we say to people, we're committed to this. There's nothing else to live for. We don't have anything else to live for. Now, if people wake up, they'll bring all their fictional dollars into it. They'll bring everything system-based and throw it into the pool, not in communism, not as a cult, no one to follow. Simply, let's work together to get out of this fucking mess together with all our children caught up in it, and let's spread this out over land. We'll use their laws, use their wealth, and create a big community immunity and break away with that peacefully, calmly.
Yeah.
No, we don't need, massive bullshit revolutions and all this stuff. It's because if you know who you are, there is no death. And if there is no death, there's nothing they can do to stop you. Even if they wanted to kill you all, kill us all, you don't die. Because see, our true consciousness is beyond time. It's timeless. This is just one page in a book of endless pages. And we sit there, we get so attached. I want my land. I want the best vantage spot. I want the right thing. And we go sitting there fucking and arguing over bullshit. We're so lost, so confused that the eternity of our consciousness, when you connect with it, you don't look at anything like this anymore. It's what, like Fee say, I'm prepared to do everything for this dream, and I have nothing in it for me anymore. I don't even bring me into the picture anymore. Real mothers, that's what they do. The real mothers, that's what they do. They're selfless. We learn from them because these women who got that together, they're awesome teachers. Not teachers as an inculcation. They just set the example. They're selfless.
The world is changed. The world will be changed by our example, not our opinion. We can emit many different opinions on many different things, but it's our example. It's our example that matters.
Exactly. It's holding that beautiful dream and giving all our life energy to it. And the more, because everything's to man's experience. Do we want to live this dream of paradise again? And if we do, then we'll direct all our life energy, all our labor for that dream. And everything that comes with us, with all our baggage with the system, we gift it with no attachment. Go let it all go. Now we take on that responsibility. And we call it the mud room, and we'll help people to work through this shit. But are you strong enough? Can you cope with the responsibilities? Because we are all on land now. We can all run to anywhere across Earth now. But we'll still be that fallen descendants in the image of our ancestors who fell, because we still don't know who we are. And it wouldn't matter if someone gave you 10,000 acres or 50,000 acres or a whole land of a country. It will not fix it if you don't know who you are, right? So the key is this. We're here on a rental property. We own nothing here, man. I own nothing. Have owned nothing since I started doing this with Fee. We've probably got a garden that's working on about 1/8 of an acre. It's a rough guess. And we're producing probably 1.5 ton upwards of food. We're not greatly successful yet. But the point is, if we can't make it work here with what we've already got now, how the hell can we even make it work anywhere? No matter how big. If someone came along and gave us the golden mine of 50,000 acres, it means nothing to us.
In anything in life,
we've already got the whole of Earth now. We've got the Amazon. We've got all the lands and the mountains all across Earth. Even though we're deforesting and destroying it all, we've already got it now because that's the breath we breathe and the water that we drink and the nature that gives us life. We sense it all. We've already got it.
Yeah.
So it isn't the land that's going to fix it. It's our attitude and how we reconnect who we are.
We
That's what fixes it.
We must master the little stuff before we master the big stuff.
So that's why
we must master our minds first.
This is why we're very regimental in some ways here. This is almost like going into the military when you come and be with us, because we need to see if people are capable of handling the responsibility which comes with discipline and hold the dream bigger than their shit. And are they capable of doing it day in, day out, day in, day out? Because if you can't do that, you have no way. Because you will still be open to making other people responsible for who you are and what you are. And that comes with all the chaos and confusion, all the trauma and all the arguments and all the battles that will destroy fucking everything It'll destroy everything. So
The
you can have all the
blaming.
echo communities, intentional communities, every kind of. I mean, most communities have ever been communities all been destroyed now. There's very few that have made it, and those who have made it are under some stereotyping still. The children are all inculcated. They're not really. They don't have living souls. They're still brainwashed drones inside the inculcation of that. Probably still very frightened, fearful of God, fearful of something.
Yeah.
And they've been together for 100 years, right? That's still not a community, a real living tribe. It's still not it, because you can't define children. So how much is it going to take to let go? How much does it take to let go, to allow things to be what they are naturally, so that every child can define its own reality, and we don't come up with bullshit excuses because of our doubt, that we have to then enclose them with some kind of stereotyping to protect our doubt. Because that's why we teach Christianity and teach God to children, because we doubt that magnificence in them.
And Santa Claus.
And Santa Claus and Easter. Exactly. So, you know, self-obsession is what we bring to the table in the system. It's all we know. But the true awakening has none of that. And it comes with your senses, which no one can define for you because you've already got sense. And when you sense, you have no alphabet thoughts in the experience. When you smell, there is no alphabet thought there. It's only when you superimpose the storytelling of someone that defined the experience of the daffodil that's yellow or rosemary that you practice the occults. That's astrotheology for you. That's numerology. That's mathematics, right?
Or
all
flattered. Or flattered.
The cryptography, pictography, right? The etymology. It's all, the intentions are buried. They come to you smiling like as if they're lambs, but they're fucking wolves underneath. Watch out, because we carry devastation and destruction in us. If we do not control this demonic entity that is the fake persona of our ego, if we don't know how to control it and learn to let it go. Now, one of the things that we've learned is that to recognize the thoughts of the ego as it comes up, don't react to it. You can laugh at it. Stay calm. Stay peaceful about it. But focus your intent on the bigger dream. Oh, I'm working with seeds. I'm working in the garden. I'm working with the soil. I'm working with the compost. I'm working with all those transition things. So I direct my energy there because I live for the benefit. Everything I do benefits others. When we do that, we give energy away. We remove the energy away from the ego. So we're not feeding it. So it slowly dies. Now, when we practice it with discipline, it goes completely. It has no influence on you. But if you react, you're feeding it. So if you doubt who you are, you're reacting. And if you doubt, all power goes to the ego and not to the bigger dream. So all the time you react to Jesus and react to God and react to the Old Testament, New Testament, and react to whatever religion or belief system you have, no matter what the stereotyping is, you're feeding the ego, which feeds the matrix, which feeds everyone to remain as blue-collar, white-collar slaves and laborers in a slave system where everyone is dependent on each other to survive the doubt and uncertainty that's become them, because they don't know who else to be, because they're fucking confused. And that's what, you know, that's why I fought so hard to break out of this myself. But I stress on one other thing here. The only way I could work it out for me was that Fiona let me pull out of the system in 2006. So I could contemplate on the bigger question as to how come there was no community immunity? How come that everything we worked for in the system was being stolen from us? And you know, etc. And we have our own story about all this. So we went to close to destitution and poverty after being 4,000 a week income for 20 years on and off, and we had a home, we had everything set up, and in the system we're right, and yet all this was being stolen by organized crime. And in fighting it, I started to question things, and so did she. We were both questioning what the hell's going on here, because we came across all these cases, unlosable cases of fraud, where contracts were switched and all nasty stuff. And all these unlosable cases were all losing, in spite of all the evidence. And we saw, you know, and I was telling Phil, we're going to lose this too unless we do something radical. So we dropped our lawyers, we dropped everyone, and we followed our intuition. And in doing it from 2005, 2006, I stopped. I didn't write to anybody. I just felt it. And Phil will tell you this. I didn't want to. I just stopped using everything. And by 2009, the driver's license fell away. I didn't renew it. I didn't write to anyone about anything I had. Nothing. I just stopped using it until it all just, shriveled away. As long as I don't react it, pick it up. And I was given the freedom, when I say I, the man, so I could sit here on a computer and argue with people and argue and use scrutiny and argue and we would talk and we would write because we wanted to work out how come there was no community immunity. Harm to you is harm to me. If harm's been done to us, harm's been done to everybody. It was obvious. We knew that back in 2005. It became really obvious, something I think my mother must have drummed into me. And the point was that in doing this work, bang, 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 light bulbs started coming on, and because interesting people were coming into our lives. And one man, a South African ex-Freemason from South Africa, revealed to us codes of the English language and letters and stuff we filed in the Supreme Court that had judges leave the courtroom. And the bottom line is, I didn't have to think about getting up to go to work. I wasn't aware that I was doing this back then. It was just, we're making radical decisions in the moment. She probably fucked up where she was, fucked up where I was. We somehow created a nucleus in our fucked upness that allowed me to have the freedom to sit there, not have to think about going to work to make money. Any of this stuff, in spite of all the years that I did. I had the freedom to use scrutiny. And I was starting to make sense. Even though I didn't realize I was doing it. And in this freedom that she provided for me, she carried all the contracts and carried the house and carried everything. This epiphany, or many epiphanies, unfolded. Because we wanted to know what the truth was. We didn't accept anything anyone told us anymore. And no matter what people were telling us, we would scrutinize it, every sentence, everything, and see if it was true or not. We kept finding out bullshit. I was even fighting astrophysicists inside NASA. With priests and experts. Nearly every area of life, I had someone I came across, and they probably hate me. Most of them probably hate me because of the scrutiny and arguments that I raised with them about what they were saying, and I wanted them to back it up and prove what they were saying. So, unless we make sense and use scrutiny to reconnect, because our sense is already here. If we can't demystify the cloaking of the definitions that we took on as the stereotyping of our fashion statement, of our fake persona that we live out of, if we can't take these layers off and recognize them, we will never, ever wake up.
Yeah, and
ever wake up.
That could be very interesting topic to start another show next time, how to reconnect to source, how the different ways we can take to reconnect to source. And one that I see you take a lot, and I see you doing this around your house, is gardening and working the soil and growing food. And I've been starting this year to do that too. And I can tell you that it raised my vibration a lot just to work. Like I have 72 tomato plants growing around my house. My wife is going crazy. There's no more room to pass anywhere. They're getting huge now. It's like, wow. But I realized that, it wasn't so hard, and it wasn't so, and it was very, very benefiting for ourselves. It's very healing. There's great healing there.
It's good, man, because you're allowing yourself to enter undefinable reality that's already there. You're letting go of the definitions that enslaves you, that brings you frustration and brings you stress and whatever it is that leads to all that confusion we have. To wind this part up, because I guess we want to finish now. We
usually do 2 hours, so.
So just to wind this up, what I did, I was able to enter the trauma. I entered the world of the occults, of their dreamscape, their landscape, and I was able to float. And the only way I could do that, the only way I could make sense of doing it, was to use my own trauma of the sexual abuse of my childhood and other things to do with sexuality that allowed me to enter their intentions, their dreams, and I was able to hear voices and use scrutiny. And I was learning about the occults and how the occults work. I even caught one trying to get inside my head once, and I actually went through the water, my breath, and caught this man, put my hands around his neck and started to choke him for trying to come inside my head. When I was coming out of a rest state or sleep state, whatever you want to call it, I caught him. And he was a man on the land here, probably an hour away from journeying on a car, a horseless chariot. And how these occults work are cunning, but the insights that we share come from this. And I've suffered, not because I want to suffer because I'm a masochist. I just want to know what the truth is. For me, for whatever this man is, that's undefinable, whatever, because I don't even know still what I am yet, really, to the extent of I'd like to be. But I just want to know what the truth was. And you have to have attention to detail, and you've got to be vigilant and discerning, and you've got to be able to calm your head down and focus on one thing and use your scrutiny, work it out.
And if I ask you, Arthur, have you found the truth? What would be your answer?
I know what the truth is of an undefinable man. Having lived that undefinable life is another matter.
Okay.
I've had too much definition of that trauma impacted me, but this man won't die. I know what the man is. I know how far the man fell into the trauma, into the darkness of man's confusion. And anyone who reads the work that we write, that Fiona helps, we're team players in this. There's no way we could have done any of this without both of us doing this together. We've provided, I guess, a roadmap for people who want to get out of there. But I can't get you out of there. Each of us, in our own unique, original way, can get out. I cannot lead you to it. Anyone who tries to is lying.
And that's the message I got from you from the last show I think we made together. And you said you have to do it. You have to start it on your own. So that's where I was inspired to start all my gardening project this year. And next year I'm gonna go even bigger. Like now, it just started. You know, it's just to get the momentum to get into it, and then you start.
It's holding the bigger dream of undefined man, and how much you prepared to work for that. Hold it, because you've got to hold it.
Yeah,
because that's holding it in conscious. You're being conscious when you're holding it. You're focused, right? And don't let anyone take it from you and steal that from you, no matter what happens. Right?
And I think what you find is the more you have a dream that you can hold in focus, the less everything else matters. And that's what, you know, all the system stuff, all the material stuff, all that crap, it doesn't matter. When you have something that you are interested in and you're focused on, all that stuff is just distraction, filling up the emptiness of not having a purpose, not having a dream. So you become much more satisfied with far less, which obviously is the answer to stopping destruction everywhere. We don't need all this crap. But you have to have something that fulfills you, so you don't need all that stuff. So then you're not you know, always needing, always missing, always yearning for. And that's what has us keep running out, looking for something to fill those distractions. When you've got something that you're really committed to, none of that matters.
No.
You know, the only thing that matters, that there is creating a living soul. That's all that matters. Nothing else matters.
But the living soul has nothing to do with self-obsession.
Sensing and feeling your life.
Exactly, because life is the living soul, is the living dream of man's life. It's undefinable. When you're looking at the mountains and the rivers and the valleys and the glory of all of nature, untouched, or sense how it was before it was meddled with, you're connecting with the living soul of man. That's undefinable. All that matters is creating a living soul. So when you're back out in the garden, it's about letting go of everything that defines the fake man and allow the real man to be there and be inspired by the sensations and inspirations of your senses, which you can't own and possess because there's no ownership in it. And that makes you selfless. So you don't covet land. You don't own anything anymore. There's no ideas of land title deeds and, you know, status and position. All this falls away because it's selfless. Only the ego carries this shit. It glorifies it for itself and puts a name to it. You know,
that's one thing that I remember from hanging out with Jabba also, and that he taught me. And one day he said to me, he said, "Why do you need to believe in yourself?" He said, "Trust yourself." He said, "Don't need to believe in yourself." He said, "Pinch yourself, you'll see you're alive."
exactly.
And
So
I remember that like it was yesterday. So
exactly, because what reality is already here. We doubt it. So we got to remove all the definitions out of our head, all the alphabet thoughts. Now you can't fight it, right? It's just recognizing them there operating, but we've got to learn to disconnect it. So we stop charging it. We've got to discharge it, right? Discharge it. And they discharge it by ignoring it. You don't run away from it. You don't react to it. You accept it. You're allowed to be there. You just don't feed it anymore. And you focus on the bigger dream, which is kingdom without the G and not the dumb. We're not the kingdom. And we just work on creating a living paradise, because the legacy of our ancestors before the fall is already what we still got now. That's what they gifted to us. And we carry the seeds of our ancestors as our consciousness, because their consciousness is our consciousness. Their consciousness is the bird, is the mountains, is the soil, is the living. Their soul is in the undefined reality. The ancestors are still with us now, who remember who they were. Right? All those who don't remember who they are, they truly die, man. It's spiritual suicide.
Well, that's what we will talk about next time we get together, Arthur. It will be about how to reconnect to the source, different ways that we can take to gain back our connection to the source.
Well, maybe we'll go outside in the garden with shovels and we'll start showing you how to connect. It's all about what am I prepared to do, and in doing it, letting go of everything that holds us back. And that's all it is. That is frightening for most people. This goes back to what I was saying. Some of the best people we've met turned into living nightmares. In fact, some of them absolutely hated me, made me the reason for all their trauma, which all comes from their own childhood. When you start going down, the nightmare will come up.
Yeah.
Can you face your nightmare? Because it's buried. And the thing is that, do you wrestle with it? Or are you prepared to accept it, let it come up, and let it go?
That's it. Let go. That's what we must do. Have less attachment possible and let go. So thank you very much, Arthur and Fiona. I feel I'm very grateful for you accepting my invitation once again. I feel very privileged. I don't know. There's no words to truly describe my feeling. Words are something that are past beyond what I can express and what I can sense and feel in this life. The words cannot truly describe it. So we'll let go of words.
We just fucked each other's brains out, mate. That's all that's happened here.
Yeah, that's it. We'll keep it that way. It's good. So thank you very much, and have a very good day for you, because it's morning time for you and night time for me here in Canada. But I wish you a very wonderful day, and we stay in touch, and we'll plan something else together about like we could extend even that talk another 2 hours, but it's just
I'll be up for that, because I think that that will help to help with the ebook and what we're doing. So yeah, we'll upload this video. We'll get the link. We'll upload it. We'll watch it, and we'll take notes and fill in anything else, any missing pieces, and we'll do it. So let us know when you want to do it again. On a Sunday morning. System Sunday morning.
Yeah, we'll stay consistent.
All right.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Catch
it was a pleasure. Bye. Thanks everybody for being in the chat also. It was like very active in the chat. I can name them all, but the list would be too long. So thanks everyone. And anyway, we are one. So it's not about an individual in the chat.
We are WHOLE.
That's it. We're out.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye, mate.